Good evening, everybody. This is Betsy Wurtzel, host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio. It is a Friday night. It is November 29th. I cannot believe the end of November, and I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving as possible. And please remember, we still have one more day left to honor a caregiver, but really not just November, which is National Caregivers Month, but honor a caregiver every month, if not every day. Also, it is near the end of the National Alzheimer's Awareness Month, and we need to remember that because with people who live with it, such as myself, it is every day, 24/7, all year long. I have a special guest with me today. I love this woman. This special guest is no stranger to Passionate World Talk Radio. She has been on Jeannie White's show, Social Connections. Marcia Burr was my first mentor in Dementia Land. She taught me about the happy place with her wife, Gadana, and I thought Marcia was a little nuts, but I had to learn for myself. I was attracted to Marcia's boldness, her passion. I said, I have to know this woman. I, too, have a spouse with early onset, as Marcia did. And I just was blown away by her passion. And I am a ripple of Marcia Burr, because Marcia Burr talked about telling your stories and speaking up. And I want to welcome you, Marcia Burr, who I love.
Hey, Betsy, thanks for having me on. It's nice talking with you, and I love your format. I love the name of your show, Chatting with Betsy, because I think this is a way actually to put a face on dementia in a more normalizing way, just having conversations about it. And, you know, the funny thing is, as caregivers, a lot of us, we're looking for any help we can find anywhere, because the honest-to-God truth is, when we start this journey, we're clueless, all of us, even medical people, and I'm one of those. I worked in an ER, you know, and medical people seem to think they know it all, but we don't. And
well, that's true.
We have to write our own journal as we go along. We got to write it in pencil because we're erasing it. 1 minute it works, the next an hour later it doesn't, and 4 hours after that it works again. There's no time frame. There's no answer. There's no nothing. We just learn to roll with it, because if we don't learn to roll, we're going to break. If we don't learn to bend, we're going to break. And that's the truth. It's such a weird exercise in, I don't know, mental, emotional, spiritual, flexibility, all of it, that you come out changed. I did. I'm not the same person. I'm not the same person I was 10 years ago at all.
Me either. Me either, Marcia.
Yeah.
That's very true. You said I worked as a licensed practical nurse. I never was even taught about Alzheimer's. It was called other diagnoses back then. And when I think about it, there were people who had dementia, because I worked in a nursing home when I was a teenager. But when Matt's mom, taking care of her, I said she took me to school because I didn't have a clue what it was even like to be a caregiver. I worked my 8 hours, 10 hours, and I went home. This was every day, all day long, all night long. And it takes a toll on a person. And when you talked about the happy place and finding, you know, the joy and living in the moment, I was thinking to myself, is this woman nuts? How can there be joy in this situation? And then I found you have to find out for yourself. And I found out for myself, yes, you have to live in the moment, excuse me, and find your joy. Absolutely. you have to change your mindset, is what I found.
Completely. You know, my story is very intertwined with another chapter of my life that deals with alcohol. I'm an alcoholic. I just don't drink. I haven't had a drink in over 9 years. And it's really amazing to me how many parallels there are between a recovery journey and a journey through Dementiaville. And it was actually the same set of tools that helped me learn how to be comfortable in my own skin and beat this thing that had enslaved me and learn how to be happy. And it took being honest with myself, open about what was going on, willing to try different things, because we all know the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. I mean, the fact is nothing changes if nothing changes. And to change our thinking, what I learned is I had to start out by changing what I did, because my brain was so fogged up from being drunk for so many years that my thinking was scrambled and I couldn't even think about thinking, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And, you know, the timing of me going back into recovery, I've fought alcohol. I've battled with it my whole life. I come from a over 400 years lineage of drunks, lawyers, politicians, and horse thieves. And so I think, you know, maybe there's some genetics involved in it, and I think a lot of it's also environmental. And that could probably be said about dementia as well, because we really don't know what causes different dementias. We know, of course, like if you get smashed in the head enough times, that you're probably going to get dementia from traumatic brain injury. But we don't know what starts somebody on the path to, say, getting frontotemporal lobe dementia or Lewy body. We might have a few clues. We might know things about vascular dementia, you know, being brought on by heart issues and strokes and things like that. But at the end of the day, we don't know anything about dementia, and we don't really know anything about recovery either. What makes a person who is basically sane in their lives, and like me, I mean, I had a good job, I had a career, I owned my own business, I've had a lot of cool experiences in my life, but this thing had such power over me that I was a complete victim to it, and I even accepted that. You know, I'd even tell people, yeah, I know I'm an alcoholic, so what? And it took Donna finally telling me one day that she can't live like this anymore, and that she was going to go away for a few days, and that I just needed to think about it and make a decision. And I did, and I knew when she was telling me that she wasn't kidding. Like, this wasn't a bluff or anything like that, that she meant it. And that's when I decided to go work on myself. And that's where I started learning about some of the tools to find my own joy again, to put light on the demons that were in my closet. And that's kind of what we have to do in Dementiaville, in a way, to survive this thing. I mean, people really, truly don't understand. I was thinking about this today, listening to some podcast I was listening to. It might have been another one of your Chatting with Betsy's. I think it was, with the last lady you just had on. I thought she was pretty remarkable.
Oh, Brita Miller.
What did she say? Something about take a break?
Right. Take a break before you break. Something like that.
Anyway, I
Brita Miller, her.
I liked her. You know, she had some good things to say. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, you know, in all the various dementia support groups I've been in, you scroll through the wall and you read the most bizarre things that happened, like my loved one keeps trying to eat the, cat food, or I keep finding the car keys in the toaster, or, and we read this stuff as caregivers, and we like, well, we take it for granted. It doesn't sound weird to us at all. It's like, yeah, another day in Dementiaville. But anybody else that hasn't lived it, they probably read through some of these things and go, oh, my God, all of these people are crazy. They're talking about the most crazy stuff like it happens every day. Well, guess what, world? It does happen every day, doesn't it?
That's right. That's right. You know what, Marcia? I'm not the same person as I was 20 years ago when I went through it with my mother-in-law, and she died in 2006. I'm not the same person as I was 10 years ago. What I'm working on myself, because Alzheimer's has made me realize things, I am taking a course on self-improvement, relationships issues, because after this is over, my journey, if I do want to go into a relationship with someone again, I am working on my self-worth, which is good to have, whether you're in a relationship or not, but I am learning to better myself. I want to better myself, and I never even thought about that before.
And, you hit on something that's been niggling at my mind. Been trying to figure out the right words for it, is that, people run through life, and most people generally probably take the mindset or feel that, I'm pretty fair and open-minded and understanding about things. And they just hold that thought in their head. But meanwhile, while they're having that own self-perception, all the words that come out of their mouth, the things they do, are like completely opposite of that. So many people are focused on all the negative crap that happens, and all the minor details of life so that was annoying, or that wasn't cool, or we get so caught up in all of the problems and harp on the problem that we lose track of, there's nothing wrong with looking at the problem, but why aren't we looking at it and then going, okay, so now that we know that, what's the solution?
Exactly.
We get stuck in that negative mindset, and we do it for so long that we don't even notice that we do it anymore. It's just such a habit. And this is why I think a lot of people that probably ran across me when I first decided to come into dementia support groups thought I was a little crazy, because I'd harp on things like this, and it's weird. People take me funny, I guess. I don't know. I was raised that it's rude to ask people a bunch of personal questions. That's just how I was raised. It's rude. Don't be nosy, right? So I don't a lot of times. But that doesn't mean I'm not sitting back and observing and putting things together, putting all the pieces together to form a picture. It just means that I was taught it was rude to pry into somebody's life. And so people often take that as me being arrogant or not caring. And that's really not the case at all. And then there's another side of me that was brought up in Miami in the 60s and 70s, and you learn to take care of yourself. And Miami, even though it's in the South, is not really Southern. It's not a little charming southern town. And a lot, when I first was growing up there back, we moved there. Let's see, I think I was 5 years old when we moved. My dad retired finally from the Air Force, and it was decided we'd live in Miami, Florida. I was 5. And it was a different world back then, completely.
Yes.
And there was a lot of people that came up from, and it still is this way. They the snowbirds come down. So there's always been like a lot of Northerners that come to Miami, and people sort of tell it like it is. They don't beat around the bush, and
that's Northern folk.
That is not the case in all of Florida, like where I live now, which is in north central Florida near Gainesville. And there is more of a southern kind of attitude of being polite, smiling in the face, and there's gossip and there's backstabbing and all of those things that they drive me batty. I don't want to play that game, and I don't have the energy for it. And so people hear me say things like that, or I'll just say something rather bluntly. I try to be polite, and they don't know how to take what I'm saying. And so I think that when you first ran across me in some of these support groups, first of all, I'm shocked that it took me so long to decide to do that, because I'd been in recovery Facebook support groups for years. That's how I often would have a meeting, because I couldn't leave the house because of Gaydana a lot of times. And as it progressed, we couldn't leave at all. She used to come to meetings with me. And for the first couple of years that I returned to recovery, I was doing meetings like 4 or 5 days a week, and I needed to do that to reprogram my brain. And I just took some steps that really kind of taught me how to live, and I just resigned myself to start being honest with myself, and then looking at my bullshit and then figuring out how to fix it. And that meant eating some humble pie. That meant forgiving myself. It meant asking forgiveness from other people and making amends where I had made bad ripples in the past. If I could fix them, do what I could to make them right. And after a while, these steps, it just becomes a manner of traveling. And so when I started this recovery journey, is like just months later, we found out Gaydana has Alzheimer's. Months later. I was months sober. And after surviving a widowmaker heart attack brought on by drinking. So I wasn't at my clearest thinking at that point. And the funny part about it to me is that, here I was one of those people, I thought, oh, well, I'm open-minded. I'm flexible. I'm this, I'm that. And I can look back today and laugh at myself. God, was I good at lying to myself? It's so funny. So often it's the things right in front of our faces that we can't see. And that's why we need good friends in our tribe who love us and that we trust, that will help maybe, either slap us upside the head and say, hey, look, man, you need to be looking over there, not over where you are looking. Or somebody to tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, I understand, I get it, but consider this. The people that love you will tell you the truth. And we don't have to be brutally honest. We don't have to beat people up with the truth. We just need to be kind and loving in our intent. And these are all things I learned in recovery. And they
what I loved what you would say, Marcia? I loved how you would say thoughts become things.
They do.
You would say thoughts become things, and that's so true. And I've heard speakers, motivational speakers, say that. The positive thinking. You are basically, what you think. And we beat ourselves up with negative thoughts. As you know, as a caregiver, we beat ourselves up. I should have, would have, could have. Maybe this would have changed, that would have changed. And we drive ourselves crazy, and we have to let it go. Let it go, let it flow. But, we just have to find something positive. And I'll tell you what, I have to tell the world, people might think now I'm a Pollyanna, but people have known me, and you could ask my mother. I was not a Pollyanna. I was pessimistic. Marcia, you helped me start my path towards being positive and being grateful. It's because of you and Gadana that I started on my own self-recovery. And I wasn't an alcoholic or a drug addict. I was just low self-esteem and being negative my whole life. And I saw you and Gadana and enjoying the moment, living in the moment. And I forgot to mention that you have your own support group now. And I'm so proud of you because you're doing your dream. You know, I've known Marcia before Gadana died. We must know each other 4 years now, Marcia.
Yeah.
And you, I can't believe it. But, yeah, you had a vision. You definitely had a vision, and you're doing it. I'm so proud of you. I want to tell you that. I'm so proud of you.
The whole journey really blows my mind because, you know, if I had decided that I loved alcohol more than Gadana, well, we wouldn't even be having this conversation right now because I'd be dead. I mean, it would be a whole completely different story. But it isn't. And so I say that not to, like, toot my horn or anything like that, but to let people know, look, man, it's possible. I was on the brink of death to the point that I was like, I don't care if I live or die. I really don't care, period. And it was love, plain and simple, that snapped me out of it enough to make me decide that I was worth working on, that I was worth saving. And so the point I'm driving at in this long story is that, you know, at first I thought, oh, I'm a decent person. I'm open-minded. I'm this, I'm that. I'm not selfish. And it was all such a lie. It took everything I went through as a dementia care partner to start opening my eyes up to what being selfish really means. And it's tied in with unawareness so much. It's like we forgot who we really are.
Okay.
And you can't tell anybody this stuff really because they either think you're crazy or else they think they get it already. You know what I mean? It's a
right.
weird thing. I don't know how really to talk about it. I don't want to go through life sounding like a preacher and pounding on a pulpit. You know, if I wanted that, I'd go to church. That's not my thing. And so I kind of wrap my brain and go, well, how can I get this message out? And I've been doing it for years, and it's just kind of by telling stories of things I've been through and talking around it. It's so funny. And so it seems like everything that I thought was right is sort of backwards now. And so today, when people might think I'm selfish because I don't ask personal questions or I say, I'm sorry, I just don't have the energy for that, it's because dementia caregiving really drove that home to me. It taught me how to triage my energy. Listen, you know better than I do that we live on 36-hour days for years on end. Forget this 24/7. It's 36/14. You know, we need clones. And people can't live like that without self-sustenance. And that's why, you know, we hear all the time, caregivers are so bad at taking care of themselves, and you hear people that have made it through harp on take the time, make the time to take care of yourself, and it sounds like we're lecturing, but it's the truth. And that's what got me through it, is learning how to take those 5-minute breaks of time where I could find them. And I'll tell you, the biggest thing that probably from recovery that's changed my life is, oh my gosh, over 7 years, this woman challenged me to this
Okay.
It was a 7-day challenge. Said, for 7 days, just write down 5 things you're grateful for. I said, all right, you're on, I'll do it. And so I started doing it, and I liked it. So I just, after 7 days, I just kept doing it. And I've been doing it for over 7 years, and I post a gratitude thing every morning on my wall, and it's changed over the years. But I'm here to tell you that by practicing doing that little thing every morning, and it doesn't take a whole long amount of time. I don't have to sit for half of my day and meditate and say Om and do a ritual. I ponder on things that I'm grateful about. I think about a word that makes me, think of things I'm grateful of, and I contemplate it for a while. It grounds me into the day, and then the most amazing thing happens after I do that gratitude thing. I let it go. I leave it alone, and I go about my day. And the most magical things start happening. It seemed like they're totally related to my gratitude word. And at first I'm like, well, this is really weird. I'm sort of running this like an experiment, going, well, let me see where this goes. And I'm here to tell you that the most amazing things happen when we hold on to gratitude and love. The biggest lesson that caregiving taught me in my life, I can sum it up in 5 words: no room save for love. And if you hear that,
right.
Again, it probably sounds selfish. No room save for love. It's like, but no, that's not what it means. It honestly means that at the end of the day, at the end of our lives, when we look at the whole big picture, that's all that matters. There really is no room save for love.
Yes.
And you know what? When that dawned on me, and it really, it was a long learning experience while Gaydana was alive going through that. But when she died in the last 3 days of her life, that was my mantra. Just her and me sitting together. No room save for love. And you know what? That room was filled with it. I had friends walk in, and they were just inundated with the energy of it. And that's what it comes down to. This journey has taught me how to fight when I need to. But more than that, it's taught me how to let go of a lot of stuff that just really, it doesn't matter.
So true, Marcia. That's so true. And that is really, I can vouch for that. I really have learned that, especially this year, attending a Shattered Women's Rising Summit and going to and doing an online workshop now. I'm going to be doing another one in February. It taught me to let go. It taught me that, you know what, I am good enough. I discovered my gifts, and it took Alzheimer's to help me discover my voice and my gifts, and to say, yeah, I'm good enough. And I'm going to work on my you hear him in the background, and I can do this. And I started thinking positive, Marcia. And when I started thinking positive, letting go of the negative, getting rid of some negative people, the positive people started coming my way.
Isn't it amazing?
So it is amazing. I'm thinking, when I heard that lady say, thoughts become things, I thought of Marcia Burr. I said, I got to tell Marcia about this speaker. And, I just really have to thank you, Marcia, for, being who you are. You are helping so many people. I remember telling my mom about you, because my mom said, she said, I see a difference. And I said, well, I met Marcia, and I said, and, Marcia's wife has Alzheimer's, because Donna was alive at the time, and she told me about the happy place, and, my mom's in her 80s, and she didn't blink like an eyelash when I said, Marcia's wife. She didn't care. She was so happy that you helped me. And one thing Alzheimer's has taught me, and not that I was biased or anything. I just become more open and more accepting, of people. And I just am so proud that you're my friend. And
I am too.
I could,
we're going to make some really special things happen down the road, but that's down the road. Yeah. And right now, I mean, your plate's full, and you really, your best place to be is to be right in the present and the moment, mindful of what you're going through right now. And it's going to take everything you have to do that, which blows my mind that you're able to put out all these radio shows all the time in the middle of this. It just amazes me. But I think it's healing for you to do this, just like making videos is healing for me.
Right, exactly.
That's your spark, the thing, your creative thing that feeds your essence, but also is the thing you give away that helps everybody out. Because at the end of the day, that's how it works. If you want to put it in some weird terms, let's call it karmic physics, if you like. At the end of the day, it's what we give away that we keep. And
yes,
the more we give away, the more we end up getting back. And the thing is, if we're just this little vessel in a human body, we got to keep giving it away to make room for the new to come in. And if you want to put that in a simple word, it's called evolution, baby. Evolution. We're all here evolving. And I think that this whole lesson of dementia is a big lesson for the whole world to remember how to be empathetic and kind. Because it seems we've sort of forgotten that. It seems, we've all forgotten that at the end of the day, we're all one. We're all one thing. So if you got dementia, guess what? So do I. Even if, medically I'm not diagnosed that, but you get my drift. We all share it. We're in the same boat together. And that's the very biggest lesson I think dementia has to teach the entire world. And maybe that's why it's such an epidemic right now, because the world really needs that lesson.
Yes, it is an epidemic. And it's interesting, the hospice nurse was here today, and she said they're seeing such a rise in young onset. And someone I'm going to interview next week, she told me that the Mayo Clinic, where her husband went, said they have such a huge increase in early onset.
And so I have to wonder why, though.
I do too.
Is it that there really is a dramatic increase? Well, partially, yeah. But also, is it that our diagnostic tools are getting a little better and we're starting to look a little earlier? So, of course, we're finding more cases because our detecting tools are getting better.
Yeah, I don't know. I know, like with Matt's medical doctor.
These are all questions we ponder and we really don't know the answer to. All we can keep doing is just keep moving forward.
Matt's medical doctor does the pre-screening now with the clock. I wish they would have had that 10 years ago. Maybe they would have seen that Matt had a problem. 10 years ago, I didn't know about early onset, and I feel that even with Matt's MRI and EEG were abnormal, they still refused to say that he had a dementia because of his age. Yet his company doctor, who I don't know if he just spoke to her on the phone or she actually saw him, suspected dementia. That's what blows my mind. She suspected it.
And, it's such a puzzle, the whole diagnostic piece. I've done a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation on that very thing that I hope to be presenting next year. And it's very complicated. For example, like Gaydana was always so very good at hiding herself, even though she came off as like she never met a stranger. She was the delight of any party, and yet she was filled with social phobia. People didn't know that about her unless they really knew her. I knew that. But she was really good at hiding things. So good, in fact, that the thing that finally got her to go get tested was that she was actually taking a walk with her ex, who's my neighbor, lives around the corner from me and won't talk to me because the Alzheimer's was my fault, and Gaydana had a terrible life because of me. But anyway, they went on the other side of my big country block. There's a bunch of horse farms back there, and they'd gone back there with the dogs and, you know, just enjoying the sunset, whatever, and they were counting horses. Well, Gaydana couldn't count. She couldn't count. And Gaydana is probably the smartest woman I've ever met in my life. And, I mean, I'm not stupid. So what I'm getting at here is she's smarter than me, and I'm not stupid, so she must have been pretty smart. You know? And for her not to be able to count, a woman that ran multi-million-dollar X-ray equipment, who was an avid photographer. We owned our own business together. We taught classes. You know, for her not to count, that's whoa. And she lost abilities to, early on, some of the first things to go was like her ability to use a telephone. How does it work? The computer.
Yes, and with that. Yeah.
It was so frustrating for her because it's like, my God, this is stuff I've done forever, and I can't even use my stupid camera. How frustrating. But she kept her ability to talk, like, up until, like, the last 3 days of her life about. And, I mean, that's what got her kicked out of hospice care. Not 2 weeks before she died, she was denied hospice because she spoke an intelligible paragraph. Meanwhile, she's hallucinating strange men that scared her to death. She thought I was Mom, or else that she didn't know who I was. Well, where's that woman? She was incontinent. She was falling. She could hardly swallow anymore. But she doesn't get hospice care because she can talk. Now, my mom died of colon cancer. On her deathbed, she spoke eloquently. They didn't deny her hospice. And at the end of the day, that is follow the money. And that's where this thing of early onset being diagnosed more and more and more. It's like, wake up, world, because this thing's going to bankrupt the entire world if we don't start changing things. And the change that needs to start sparking all the other changes is the one in our hearts. It's an inside-out job, and that's where the ripples come in. And people for years thought I was nuts talking about ripples, too. Ripples in the happy place. Oh, that woman's crazy. It's like, yeah, call me crazy. I really don't care. It's a fine madness.
Yes. But I found out you were right, Marcia.
Yeah.
I found out you were right. You know, we all have to learn in our own way for ourselves. You know, we could tell people to be positive and find your happy place, but I had to learn for myself. You have to, an individual has to come to that point to want that for themselves.
Yeah, and let's be clear on this thing about the happy place, too. The happy place does not mean it's all giggles and laughs.
Exactly.
The happy place means that whatever's going on in our lives at that particular moment, we have learned some ability to find a piece of joy in it, or a lesson or a treasure in it. You know how I look at life now? I wake up every day before my feet hit the ground. In my mind, I say, thank you, and show me. Show me. What's on the plate today? What's today's adventure? Show me. Show me some magic. And guess what? I see it. And sometimes it's not always fun. You know, stuff happens in life. You learn to deal with it. You roll with it. And if it isn't fun, well, okay, figure out the lesson, and then you go, all right, well, I learned something from that, so it was a good thing.
Thanks.
That's all.
That's right.
And we get to choose. It's very simple. It doesn't mean that I walk around every day going, we, the happy place, be happy. You got to be positive every day, every minute. Better be
right.
Better be happy. Better be happy. Jesus, man, somebody'd probably shoot me. I'd be tempted to shoot me if I heard, if that's what I heard. I'd be like, whoa, man, back off. Talk to my hand for a while. And so I don't really try to preach people to be happy or be this or that. Be yourself. Just be honest with the feelings you're having. Accept them, embrace them, let them, and then let them go. We are not our thoughts, nor are we our feelings. It's like we're some mix of all of that and none of that. But we don't have to be attached to them. And the weirdest thing is that when we learn how to let go, that's when we actually grab onto some actual real mojo and power.
Yes, my therapist used to tell me when I went to the therapist, he said, Betsy, if you want to have a pity party, that's fine. Set your timer for 10, 15 minutes. Do it every day if you want. Then pack it up and move it along. And I thought that was like the best advice any therapist ever gave me.
Yeah,
and I did it.
And it takes what it takes for each person, and I try to be very understanding of that with people because, look, sometimes, man, we know friends who have been through the most devastating things, that have watched the most violent outbursts, crazy, almost out of like The Exorcist thing of, this used to be my loving husband. Now what is this? We've seen stories like that. We've seen horror upon horror, and it takes what it takes to get out of it. I mean, on top of, like, my God, besides my mom having dementia, my husband just died in bed next to me last night. I mean, things like that. Right. This is life, and we can't. Who am I to say how somebody should grieve, or what their lesson is in that? All I can do is try to be understanding, try to offer some hope and support. Sometimes you got to say, "Hey, friend, man, go get some help. You're scaring me," or something, But at the end of the day, it's all intense. And if we choose love over fear, I guarantee you that it's going to be a good day. Every day that I choose love over fear, it's a good day.
That's right. Marcia, do you have any words of wisdom? And can you tell people how to get in touch with you?
Yeah, the easiest way to find me is on Facebook. My wall is public. I run a page called the Voyages of the USS Life Raft, which is kind of the online journaling of what my local support group, which is called the Life Raft, is doing. Send me a PM. I'll get back to you. I had, right before we started talking tonight, minutes before, Betsy, I ran across this thing that I happened to read in actually one of my old recovery groups, and I just loved it. And I like to part with this thought to y'all. I want to read this, okay?
Okay.
Not real long.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I once asked a very successful woman to share her secret with me. She smiled and said to me, I started succeeding when I started leaving small fights for small fighters. I stopped fighting those who gossiped about me. I stopped fighting with my in-laws. I stopped fighting to meet people's expectations of me. I stopped fighting for my rights with inconsiderate people. I stopped fighting to please everyone. I stopped fighting to prove they were right. Those who have nothing else to fight.
That's very thought-provoking. That's really nice. Thank you, Marcia.
I started becoming, and some fights aren't worth time. Choose to fight for wisely.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Marcia, for being my guest tonight. And I want to thank the listeners. If you have any suggestions of topics you would like for me to discuss, you can PM me. You can get in contact with me. I can't talk now. Passion World Talk Radio. You can also join my hashtag Kick Alzheimer's Ass movement on Facebook. If you have a loved one with any kind of dementia, or you want to learn about dementia or just be inspired, you're more than welcome to join. You can follow me on my page, Betsy Wurtzel, Wurzel, and you can see pictures of my husband and our journey through this dementia land. My husband's in the later stages now. And this is Betsy Wurtzel, host of Chatting with Betsy on Passion World Talk Radio. Jeannie White is the producer. And have a blessed evening, caregivers and other folks. You are a shining star in someone's life. You shine bright and be the light that you are to others, and pat yourself on the back and say, I am a good caregiver. Look yourself in the mirror and say, I am good enough, and I'm doing the best that I can. See you the next time, folks. Bye-bye.